Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, FoxPotter16 here again with another movie review. This time, and you can call me a dork for having this movie, but this time I'm going to go over Anastasia. For those of you who don't know, this tells, a story of the youngest daughter of the Romanov line, Anastasia Nikolaevna, or however you say it. My Russian's not all that great. Basically, in this telling, Anastasia, one of the princesses of Tsarist Russia in about 1916, they're celebrating the 300th anniversary of the Romanov rule in Russia, and her grandmother, the Dowager Empress, gives her a music box, very, very pretty thing, and a necklace that is a key for it, where she puts it in, twists it, and it plays the Dowager Empress's lullaby to Anastasia, at least just the music. And on the back of the key it says, "Together in Paris." Well, a few minutes later, in the movie anyway, Rasputin, who is apparently the bad guy, arrives, and after a small fight breaking out between him and Tsar Nicholas of Russia, Rasputin puts a curse on the Romanov family. And while they're escaping, Anastasia forgets her music box, goes back and tries to get it, but there's just no time. So one of the servant boys, Dmitri, helps the Dowager Empress and Anastasia escape through the servants' quarters and everything. So they get to the train station, and the Empress gets on the train, and Anastasia is she's trying to run and catch up. They grab hands, but then Anastasia slips, hits her head on the railroad line, and gets a major case of amnesia. 10 years later, basically, because everybody else in her family is dead except for the Dowager Empress and some of her cousins and stuff. But Anastasia's brothers, sisters, her mom and dad are all dead. She leaves the orphanage that she was living in after the whole incident. And so she's leaving to get a job at a fish market, according to the matron of the orphanage. And so instead of going to the fish market in the town, she goes to St. Petersburg to try to find whoever gave her the necklace, because she doesn't remember. So she meets up with Dmitri, but has no idea who he is. And basically, after some convincing, they take her, Dmitri and his friend Vladimir, they take her to Paris. By the way, they have, a lot of mini adventures and lots of singing, and so because basically Rasputin, he fell through some thin ice while she was a girl, and basically is in limbo as a living corpse because his curse is not complete yet. And then, of course, there's the animals. There's Puka, which actually means dog in Russian, which is a dog, Anastasia's little pet. And then Bartok, which is Rasputin's little bat minion thing. They're, just sidekicks. Because Bartok tells Rasputin that Anastasia's still alive. So he tries to, kill her. Isn't successful. So they get to Paris, and they meet up with Sophie, the Empress's cousin, and, she tests her, asks her all sorts of questions, and then she asks one final question about how she escaped from the palace, and she was able to remember that a servant boy got her out through a hole in the wall, which was really the door of the servants' quarters. That's when Dmitri realizes that it's really Princess Anastasia. So they hatch a plan to get the Dowager Empress to see her. And after, Dmitri takes the Dowager Empress's car with her in it back to the hotel that they were staying at, the Empress goes in and talks to Anastasia, who smells peppermint, and of course, peppermint, smells being the most powerful memory trigger, triggers the memory of her breaking a bottle when she was young, and then they realize she has the necklace and it's really Anastasia. So she finds out who she is and all that. And then, at this celebration of finding her again, Anastasia's like, this is what I wanted. I wanted to know who I was and whether or not I was part of your family, which I am. But at the same time, she's in love with Dimitri. So she ends up, giving up her crown for the time being, and she goes and elopes with Dimitri. That's pretty much, and that's after they, defeat Rasputin. He has this reliquary thing that is the source of his powers, and Anastasia ends up breaking it with her foot after a major battle in the garden of the palace. So, it's really, like I said, it's a good family film. Little kids will love it. I played this for my niece and nephew, my nephews and my niece and stuff, and they loved it. So, if you got kids at elementary school age, they'll love this. However, I will say this. The history of this movie is completely wrong, because Anastasia and her family were shot to death, so they didn't actually make it into the 1920s. And Anastasia was actually a little older in 1916 than she is portrayed in this movie. So historically, it's very inaccurate, although the characters, like the Romanov family and Rasputin, real people in history, but like her like one or two of her sisters and her brother was they had some kind of a weird clotting problem. I'm not sure what it's called. If anybody knows, feel free to leave a comment about it. But yeah, just even though it's historically inaccurate, it's still a good movie. If you like, movies that are similar to Disney or whatever. So, check it out if you haven't. Or, feel free to leave me a comment about anything. Alright, talk to you later. Bye, everybody.